This is Money Stories.
Brought to you by Amy and Ben from In Financial Services. All right, welcome back to Money Questions. And we're here again with myself, Ben, Janine, and Jack has joined us again.
Let's do it.
And so now we've got some questions for you, Jack, around your business and how you're helping people enter that property market and start investing in property and growing their portfolio. So I guess we want to talk about your roadmap. And I know on your website, you've got a 10-hour video that covers the roadmap.
Yeah.
So obviously, if anyone has any other questions, they can go watch that video.
Stole that off Alex Hormozy. I just changed it from $0 to $100 million business scaling to $0 to $50 million property portfolio.
So should we just step back a little bit, like in relation to explain Jack's business and what he's done? And
yeah, I suppose we could do that. This is off the back of the other episode. So obviously, if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen where we talk about Jack and his story. But yeah, like I said in that episode, Jack's a buyer's agent, property developer, got a property portfolio worth over 40 million now. What else? There's
summarized it up pretty well. Yeah,
multiple things.
You know, we help people now based on what I've personally done in my life, sort of replicate that and not make the mistakes that I have made. Or I go and make the mistakes and then I go, hey, don't do what I just did.
Yeah, exactly.
And the good thing is that you've got so much stuff on social media in relation to education, as into how to actually go from A to B. And
yeah, well, he's got the 10-hour video on
the 10-hour video, jump on there and have a look.
And then, plenty of podcast episodes and all your TikTok as well. So plenty of content out there if you want to go watch it. But,
But we actually wanted to talk today about the roadmap that is on the internet. Mm-hmm. And it's how to get to a property portfolio of $50 million over a 25-year period.
Yeah. And look, those numbers are not like relative to everyone, right?
No,
so it could be 5 million, it could be 1 million, it could like whatever number is relative to you, the fundamental framework,
the concept
works.
Yeah.
And then you just change the number and add more zeros to however big you want.
Which is a good point to make, because when you say $50 million, that sounds really, like a huge amount to achieve. And you think like, hey, that sounds, impossible. How could that possibly be? So it's good to get there and put the context around, okay, well, if that isn't what you dream or desire, that doesn't mean that that's what you have to do.
100%. Yeah, this works at all levels. I feel like I've broken it down into like pretty bite-sized chunks of exactly what you need to focus on at different points in time. But the thing that you can change around for your own situation is how old you are, how much time you have, and how big of a portfolio you want.
Yeah. So let's get into it. There's 8 stages. We won't spend 10 hours on it like your video. But
we got time.
We'll try and wrap it up into small bite-sized pieces, like you said. So step 1 is the strategy. Mm-hmm. So what does that sort of look like for people, or what do they do at that step?
Yeah. So before you do anything, which I didn't do when I started, investing in property, is you should have a high level understanding of what it is that you want. We see a lot of people start with no strategy, and that's when you can come up against roadblocks and you can make the wrong decisions around things. Like if you want financial freedom as your ultimate desire, if you go out and you go buy an owner-occupier home straight off the bat, you get a huge, debt position, non-deductible debt position. You're not going to have the ability to go and buy investment properties because you've used up all your capacity. So that's what I mean about strategy. It's like, well, where am I at right now? What is my life likely going to look like over the next 5, 10, 15 years? You're not going to get it perfect, obviously, because shit happens. But it's understanding where you are, where you want to be, and then going, okay, well, if I want to be there, what are the likely steps I have to take to be able to get there? And, in the roadmap on the website that I talk through, and this is all free, by the way, so you don't have to pay me anything to do it. I did it out of the kindness of my heart. It just clearly, states all the things that I think people get wrong and the way that they should think about them, or if they haven't even thought about them yet, like the pros and the cons of different decisions. But in strategy, like structuring is very important. The kind of assets you buy is very important. Time frame in which you're thinking in is also very important. Like people who want to hit these huge targets in a short period of time, like it's not possible. And you probably have to understand how your life is likely to change. Like if you're going to have kids, you're going to go back to one income, you may want to move locations. Like all of these things have an impact on what what your strategy will look like.
And that is the good thing about the videos that you do have online, that it is it does get there and go through the issues associated with, okay, well, if you're wanting to do this, you are going to have to give up this, or if you're wanting to achieve this, it may take X period of time. It's not like it's going to happen overnight, and it's not going to be like there's not going to be challenges along the way.
Yeah, expect challenges and expect that it take longer than what you think it's going to take. That's the guarantee. And it's not going to be easy.
Yeah. So in that strategy piece, is it more around the lines of, okay, so I want to earn, let's say, $150,000 a year by the time I retire. So what do I need to do to put in place?
Yeah, that's right. So if it's like, if I want to have $150,000 of income by the time I retire, I'm assuming that's based on today's money. So you need to inflation adjust that number, because 150,000 in 25 years time will probably get you a loaf of bread and some and some milk, and that's it. You've got no more money left. So you need to understand, well, what does that look like? Inflation adjusted out. Okay, cool. Now I've got that number. What does that look like from a net asset position? Okay, now I've got that number. What is my career trajectory going to look like? Partner, no partner, kids, all that jazz. And then like your life desires, right? Because there is, we can say sacrifice. I actually don't like that word because people use it way too often when it's not really sacrifice. But there's choices that you need to make, and every choice has like a negative and a positive. So like I said, you go buy a big owner occupier home, it's a choice, and there's negative and positive. Positive is you can feel like you've got security, and it's amazing. You can tell friends at the barbecue that you're owning a home and all the rest of it. But the downside is it's all paid for with after-tax income. It's unlikely going to be able to build any sort of real wealth, because owner-occupier home, from my personal belief, is not actual wealth, because you can't get access to it without selling the home. So yeah, understand where you're going, the sort of trajectory of your life and what that is going to look like as much as you possibly can understand it, and then the choices that you're going to have to make.
Cool.
Yeah, cool.
So then we move on to the next stage.
Yeah, so stage 2 is planning, which I sort of guess goes hand in hand with that strategy, because you need to know where you're going to be and then how
plan
to get
for
there.
it, right?
Yeah.
So it's like strategy is, where am I now? Where do I want to be? And like, how am I actually going to get there? And then planning is around, when are we going to do these things? So inside of our organization, the first thing we do with every single client, regardless if they've got lots of properties or no property, is like a portfolio plan. Because like everyone has a goal and a desire.
Yeah.
And you need to understand exactly where you're at.
Yeah.
And then plan for all the different things that are likely to happen. So obviously borrowing capacity when you're investing in property is one of the biggest constraints, regardless of how much money you earn. So planning for that, how do we maximize it? When are we likely to hit borrowing capacity limits? Do we have to undo some things that we've done in the past to then open that back up? Do we sell some properties now and decrease some debt? Like all of these things fall into that sort of planning strategy, that planning stage, sorry. And then also on the back end of that, it's like, when are we likely going to sell properties? When are we going to pay some capital gains tax? When are we going to roll from growth assets into more cash flow producing assets? That's the whole planning stage. And then the hardest part about planning stage is actually sticking to it. Everyone can make a plan, and it's all really exciting when you make the plan and then you buy the first property, and then 24 months later, you're like, oh, this is boring. And then you get distracted, right? It's like, it's human psychology. We love the shiny object, or the women in the red dress, as they say on, what's that?
Matrix.
The Matrix, that's right. So it's making sure that you like stay focused and don't get distracted, and follow the plan, because you have a much higher probability of hitting your goals if you follow the plan versus following it for 2 seconds and then going off course.
But it'd be nice to actually have that plan, because most people wouldn't even
Well,
think
most people wouldn't have a plan.
they wouldn't even think about doing something like that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's why financial planners are great, right? It's like, here's a plan. I mean, the plan is one piece of it, but then you got to actually
you gotta
follow it.
action
And
it.
we
The
see it all
action.
the time. It's like, people get a plan, they have all these grandiose goals, and then like the monotony of life sets in. And it's like, it's a lot sexier to talk about than actually do. And that's why people get caught up in, buying new cars and going on holidays and, all this stuff, because it's like, it makes their life a little bit more exciting,
Yeah.
but it delays the end goal.
We all want it now, don't we?
I know. Me too.
Well,
Don't
I
worry.
guess people's plans would change a little bit as they grow and have kids or family, and then, like you said, they want the security of that owner occupied home as well. So
The perceived security.
And then if
Yeah.
a neighbour goes and buys a caravan, well,
yeah,
come
Yeah,
on.
that's right. That's why you just don't have neighbours. Yeah. You don't have to keep up with the Joneses if the Joneses aren't around. Go buy a farm somewhere in the middle of nowhere.
yeah. And then I guess, again, stage 3 goes with stage 1 and 2, but it's finance and putting that finance together with the plan and the strategy.
That's right. Finance strategy. It's like finance is easy. You go to the bank. How much can I borrow? You go use it. But if you go and use it all up at once,
Yeah.
no more finance for a long time. So we do a lot of planning around borrowing capacity and how to maximize it through different structures. And, this is not going to be relative to everyone. A lot of people love the idea of a trust or a company. They don't even know what it is. They're just like, oh, that sounds sexy. Like, let's go to a trust.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it's not 100% relative. But for people who are really ambitious and they want to build big portfolios, or they're young and they've got their whole life ahead of them in terms of like career progression and income growth, all this stuff's very important. So we do a lot of finance strategy around, people might have sold property and they might come out of a sale with $1 million, for example, and they don't want to go buy another owner occupier home. They want to go and invest. So for example, they might have borrowing capacity of $1 million and they've got $1 million worth of cash, which hypothetically means they can go buy something for $2 million with 50% debt. But if they structured it correctly, instead of buying a $2 million or $2 million worth of assets, they might be able to get 3 or 4 times that amount with the same amount of cash. Which if you go and buy the $2 million asset, use all of your cash and all your borrowing capacity, it's very hard to then reverse that, and it's very expensive. So absolutely, all 3 of those things, and that's why they're before the actual strategy piece, is because that's all the important stuff you need to consider and think about and plan for before you then go out there and start buying properties. I didn't do that. I just went and bought property.
And so the problem would be that people would get excited because you're like, oh, wow, okay, this is the path I want to go down. Yes, I want to go and buy that property. And then you're now saying, but hold on a second, we've got to do these 3 stages before you can even go out and start looking at different things. So what time frame do you normally allow for that?
Well, when clients come to us, we do it all at once. So I was like, hey, this is where we're at. This is where you want to be. This is how we're going to get there. This is the finance strategy we need. Now let's go and execute. If you're just doing it by yourself, depends on how knowledgeable you are about each of those things. But I would say like you need to be really, it's a constant thing that you're thinking about and doing, because life changes and things happen, and could get that promotion you never thought you were going to get and all that type of jazz, which changes things. But it should happen before you do anything else. And a lot of people don't even think about it. So, they just like, oh yeah, I'm going to go buy a house because that's what everyone else does. And they don't really think about like what that means and is it actually going to benefit them? What do they actually want out of their life?
And the great thing about that is then you can just keep reviewing it on a regular basis. Like it's there, you can look back on it and think, okay, I'm achieving what I said I would achieve. I'll get to the end result that I'm wanting to get to, or I'll beat it, or hey, I'm not going to get there. So what do I need to do to like
exactly
speed it
right?
up?
And all this stuff, the more conservative you can be with your numbers, the better you're going to feel when you do reviews. Because if you project out at certain growth rates and all the rest of it, and then when you review things that's not at that level, you're going to be let down. It's like setting goals and then not achieving the goals, right? You're better off setting slightly lower goals and achieving them, which builds momentum. And it's the same here. If you project out as at a conservative level, when you start hitting them, it's like a reinforcing thing. So that's what we do.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Do you project out like income raises and?
Yeah, well, I mean, we only project income raises at 2.5% per annum, which just keeps up with inflation. We don't know if you're going to get the $50,000 pay increase and all the rest of it, right?
Exactly.
So, same as growth rates, we just project at the Australian average. You could do less than that, you could do more than that, but to project at the Australian average means if you're investing in a really good quality location that's outperformed the Australian average, you're probably going to be conservative in your projection, which is good. Same as cash flows, like the yields on your properties. We always project in 2 weeks of vacancy, even though you might not have any. We always project 1.5% of the property's value in property-related expenses every year. So all those things get built into your numbers, and if you outperform them, go you.
That's cool. And that, I guess, brings us into what most people would say is the exciting stage.
Start of the exciting stuff. That's right. That's where we spend money.
The accumulation stage at stage 4.
Where we actually are buying the asset.
Going out and buying the properties.
So I've essentially broken the property buying strategy process, whatever you want to call it, down into like 5 stages. So accumulation is the first stage, which is like you start out generally with little to no money. I call it capital, but essentially means little to no money. And during the accumulation phase, it's about accumulating the largest amount of gross assets either you can or you need to be able to get to your goal. So what I see a lot of people do, and a lot of people I speak to, older people, say, I wish I would have done more when I was younger. I wish I would have bought that extra property. I did that extra thing.
Yeah.
But they only say that looking back in retrospect, right? So, my parents were exactly the same, like going, oh, if we knew then what we know now.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, we can learn from those people because we do know now what they knew, what they've learned. So accumulation is like you start off with a little bit of money, you go buy your first property, and that property grows in value. You've now got equity. If you've got the borrowing capacity to use that equity, allowing it to sit there and do nothing is wasted opportunity because eventually you will use it. So why not use it as soon as you possibly can if you can afford to use it?
Yeah.
So just continuing to roll from one property into the next property, into the next property, and not worrying about, oh, is the property going to pay me or, whatever it is anyone else worries about. Because the larger you can get that gross asset base in the short term and the longer it has to grow in the market, the wealthier you're going to be and the sooner you're going to get to your goals. If you buy one property this year, then wait 5 or 6 years, half a market cycle, potentially a market cycle. If you go back to COVID, like the market moved within 3 or 4 years, it was, everything doubled. So the longer you wait, the less assets you're going to have in the market and the longer it's going to take to get to the goal. Where the faster you can do that and you can press that down, then you go into the next stage, which is acceleration.
Yep.
And that's really about looking at the existing asset base and going, well, how can I either increase the value of those properties or how can I increase the rental income of those assets? So essentially accelerate the performance. Super straightforward. Most of the assets we buy have the element of both, which is increased value and increased rental income.
Yeah.
Not all properties have that. And that's the first 2 stages. You can do them in parallel. Like you can do them both at the same time. And we do a lot of that where we buy an asset, we'll add value to it immediately, and then we'll go back and release the equity out of that property and go buy another one. So it's like accumulation and acceleration at the same token. But essentially all that means is buy a property and accelerate it. Because a lot of people will buy assets and leave them in the portfolio. And let's say they hit a serviceability cap or maybe they go through a period in their life where they're having kids and they're back to one income. So they're just sort of coasting. They don't realize that they can actually increase their net worth and the value of their assets by just adding value to what's already sitting there versus going to buy more.
Yeah.
And that, I suppose, comes back to buying the right property in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you go buy a brand new house in a brand new estate, very hard to go and add value to it, right? Unless the builder's got a huge amount of defects, which you don't want anyway. But if you buy established properties in established areas where the majority of the value is in the land as opposed to the dwelling, you can go and add value to those properties, when you've got the time and the cash.
Yeah. So you're making sure in that accumulation phase, you're buying the right properties so that when they get to that accelerator phase, or like you said, you can do it side by side, but when they get there, they're ready to add value.
Because when the market's flat, you want to have a lever there that you can pull to be able to increase the value. And, in increasing interest rate environments like we've been through over the last sort of 24 months, you can increase the rental income as well. Like if you can add a second dwelling to a property, which will then give you more rental income, which covers the cost of adding that second dwelling, plus helps cover the cost of the existing mortgage. It's like a double whammy.
And in your video, your comment about that was, one good girl is worth 1,000 bitches.
There you go. There you go. You heard it here first. Didn't realize I said that, but it sounds like something I'd say.
You had the 10 hours of hours of video. So.
That's right. There you go. I need to watch myself. I sound like a funny guy.
And you're also saying, which is really good, that you're saying that in that stage that it's going to be a negatively passive income. So
it's maybe negative gear.
You are going to have to get there and contribute associated with it, and you're going to feel poorer than richer at that stage.
100%.
Yeah.
Wealth creation is this horrible thing where you think you're doing the right thing and you are doing the right thing, but you actually feel poorer in the short term.
Yeah.
It's not just real estate, like any sort of wealth creation, right? Like if you're investing in shares, you're investing in crypto, or you're investing in property, whatever it is you're investing in, you're putting out money before you're getting anything back. And
which is
probably
good because you're actually telling it how it is.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
Feel
probably
poor
what
all the
leads
time,
to
trust me.
probably what leads to a lot of people dropping off at those stages because they are putting out money and not seeing like instant returns.
100%. And that's what people like they sell assets before they even allow them to grow. It's like, oh, it's costing me money, I'm going to sell it. And it's like, well, of course. Like, it should be.
Yeah.
But I suppose that's why you're also saying that you can do that acceleration at the same time, because then you can put that other like dwelling at the back and
Yeah.
increase that income.
Renovate the existing dwelling,
Yeah.
all that stuff. Makes you feel richer on paper,
Yeah.
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 And then we go into the incubation phase.
which is where all the money's
which is-
made.
Yeah. Big 10 to 25 years in
Of
this.
doing nothing, waiting.
Literally,
space, so-
literally. And this is where most people fail, right? Because doing nothing, when you're sitting on your hands, people get
Yeah.
itchy. They're like, oh, what should I do?
Yeah.
But I'm sure we all know that like Italian or Greek family that have like bought the house back in like 1900 and they've owned it for 100 years
Yeah.
and they bought it for $2 and now it's worth 20 million. Like,
Yeah.
we all know those people that have made a huge amount of money through property and their strategy was just waiting.
Yeah.
And Charlie Munger says, a famous thing he said was, you don't make money when you're buying, you don't make money when you're selling, you make money when you wait. And like, that's the truth. So I've never sold an asset that I've bought, other than one that was sort of sold when I exited a business. That's just wait. And during that period of time, you're going to have, an increase in cash flow because your rents will slowly increase. Hopefully you're decreasing some debt over that period of time as well. And the portfolio will start to cash flow itself, but you shouldn't live off the cash flow. You should still be working and you should be using that cash flow to decrease debt further, because when we get to the next stage, which we'll run through in just a second, the more equity you have then, the more, cash flow you'll generate and the better your life will be at that stage.
Yep. So let's get into that stage, which is the consolidation stage.
Yeah, which is selling.
Yep.
Because
Getting rid of the debt.
yeah, that's right, eliminating it. And essentially like repositioning your portfolio, because we focus heavily in the accumulation and the acceleration phase on growing capital. So we're focusing heavily on growth assets.
Yep.
A lot of people get stuck in this sort of, I want growth, but I want cash flow at the same time. And generally those two things don't go hand in hand. You go to the biggest fund managers in the world. I just had the chief investment officer of Viola on my podcast last week. And they're exactly the same. They structure portfolios to go growth first, grow the capital, then cash flow at the back end. So to get your money out of your growth focused assets, you have to consolidate and you have to sell. And unfortunately, you have to pay tax. That is an inevitable thing that has to happen. But the awesome thing is, what you'll see is the little amount of money that you started with has now turned into a much larger chunk of money. And it's going to be post-tax money. And then what is left over? So let's assume that you've got $5 million after 20 years of investing. That $5 million post-tax now gets invested for cash flow. And that's when you can actually start enjoying your life.
Yep.
And the reason I said that in the accumulation phase, the faster you can accumulate and the more you can jam into those first few years of investing, the sooner you're going to get to this, consolidation and evolution phase. So if you space out that accumulation phase and it takes you 10 or 15 years to actually get a good asset base, obviously the consolidation is going to be much further down the track.
And as you were saying online, that with the consolidation, obviously you don't have to go and sell them all in the 1 year, because then you can stage out that that tax portion.
For sure. I mean, you go back to the planning stage and that's why we have to revisit these things constantly, right? Because strategy and planning and finance, it happens all through these stages. In the incubation stage, you're probably worrying more around what your interest rates are, because you're holding now, you want your cash flow to increase so you can decrease debt faster. So I'd be worrying about penny pinching on rates, and I'd be worrying about going into long-term fixed rates to make sure your cash flow is consistent. So all of those things you're constantly revisiting. And if you're serious about wealth creation, that's what the wealthiest people do. I can assure you, all the ultra wealthy people I know, they're catching up with all of the people who work within their sort of finance team very regularly.
Yeah.
Because, things change and you always need to be on the ball.
Yeah. And how often would you get people to review their...
We do our
plan?
clients every 6 months at a minimum. So every 6 months we catch up, we get valuations done, we reprice, interest rates, we get updated equity positions, we make sure we're on track for our goals, because things change. We've gone through a ever increasing interest rate environment, and now we're going through an interest rate decreasing environment, right? So, you want to be on the ball and constantly taking advantage of whatever you've got access to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, cool. And then I guess we get into the last stage, which is evolution.
That's right.
Enjoy it stage.
Exactly. I mean, you should be able to enjoy it through the journey. But this is where you have full freedom and flexibility. And Frank from our team, this is the stage that he's in now, which is he doesn't have to get up tomorrow and listen to anyone. He's got his portfolio, it's delivering him his lifestyle, and he can do what he wants. But in this stage, it's all around like converting, which you've just done in your consolidation phase, your growth focused assets into liquid capital, liquid cash, and then putting it into cash flow producing assets. That could be real estate, that could be other investments that are a little bit more liquid. And it depends on your age. You know, if you're someone who's late 50s, early 60s, superannuation is probably way more relevant to you. You know, speak to a good financial planner and tax accountant around those things and how to get a lot of money into there and get a tax-free income. But if you're someone who's a bit younger and that's less relative, you might be invested in other stuff. But really, it's all about cash flow. It's probably more about liquidity now, and you know, making sure that you're enjoying the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
So I suppose the good part about it is it just shows that it takes time.
Does definitely take time.
Takes time to get to that end goal, and it'll be worth it in the end. But obviously, you have to put in the effort to, you know, obviously secure that.
Like you were saying, it's good that you're upfront about how much time it actually does take because
Well, the only thing that takes less time than this is buying a lotto ticket and hopefully you win. Or you sign up for Adrian Portelli's thing and he calls you one night and you've won 20 million bucks. But unfortunately, that happens to almost no people, right?
Exactly.
So anything good, you know, takes time.
And the good thing about this is it just can be happening in the back. Like you just keep living your life, doing what you're doing, as long as you've got your plan and you just keep following the plan.
That's literally it. Yeah, like I work in the industry, right? So I'm probably more on it than most people. But like my personal stuff, mortgages come out every month, rent comes in, bills get paid, and I just go about living my life. Nothing really changes all that much. I get valuations done all the time. I'm releasing equity constantly. I'm buying more stuff, but like you don't have to be that active in it.
Yeah.
And you know, I'll go through stages in my life where I'm probably not doing anything because I'll have other priorities, and a lot of people do that. I've seen clients where they've bought property really young and then they go and, you know, get a partner, have kids. Like it might be 10 or 15 years. And I had one client, his business went belly up during that time. And he still had this first property that he bought when he was like 18, and it had like doubled and a half in value. And it was just still sitting there ticking away. I'm just like, wow. If he didn't do that, he would have been like fully on the bones of his ass. But because he bought this property and still held it through all of the things that he had in his life, like separations and business that went belly up, he come back once he was back on his feet, could borrow money again, leverage off this thing, and like off to the races.
Yeah.
So the earlier you do this stuff, like the better it is.
Yeah. And also less stuff you have going on in your life, like less
Life
family
baggage,
stuff.
I call it. It's like if you do things earlier, like you don't have the separations and the kids and like, you know, businesses and all the shit that you get, like life just throws on you.
Yeah.
And you also start to learn the habits much earlier too, right? Like, if you're doing things all through your 20s, or, you know, early 30s, it just becomes normal.
Yeah.
Or if you're trying to relearn or learn this stuff in your 40s and 50s, you have less time to make mistakes because you're obviously, you know, closer to your retirement age. And you're trying to learn things much later in life, which is harder as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I've learned.
Yeah.
Well, the good thing for your generation is that you're actually around, because there'd be so many people that would be in their 20s and 30s and 40s that have got no idea about property, and now they can just jump online and they see all your like TikToks.
If they choose to listen.
If they choose to listen.
And if you don't like me, there's plenty of other punters out there doing the same thing, right? They might just do it with a slightly different.
You've actually got a nice, quick, easy, roadmap on how to get there.
Yeah.
And so it's in a matter of them, okay, do I choose to take it or do I not?
Yeah. And you also it works. That's the reality.
Yeah.
You just need to believe that it's going to work over a long period of time, because what you don't see in like these 10 hours of content, if you go and watch it, is you don't see all of the negative press during that time and the things that happen in the world and the life events in your own life that happen. Like you got to insert some of these in here and know that that's just life. But if you don't do this stuff during your life, I can assure you, like, the cost of regret when you get to the other end is a way higher price to pay than the cost of some short-term anxiety and fear and, you know, all the rest of it.
Yeah. Property is a very handy tool for Australians.
Oh yeah, I was on a debate the other day. I don't know if you saw it, with Frank Reef and founder of Eucalyptus. I can't remember his name.
No, I didn't.
And I was like, business versus property. That was a debate. I was the property guy and they were the business guys, and they'd made a lot of money through business. And you know, business is hard, and you can make a significant amount of money in business if you're good, but it's very hard to be good and it's super competitive. Where like you don't need to be anything with property. Like, you can buy a property, you can hang on to it forever. It's a real asset. The banks love it. Australian economy loves it. And you can make a lot of money by just doing very little in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, cool. Well,
well,
thank you.
yeah,
Thank you
thank
for
you.
sharing your story, and
My
thanks
pleasure.
for going through all the roadmap, and thanks for putting all that education out on the internet too, because like
Yeah, it's very helpful
yeah,
to
it's great.
My
Yeah,
pleasure. Thank you
all the
guys for having
younger
me on.
Thanks.
Thank you.
This is Money Stories.
Brought to you by Amy and Ben from In Financial Services.